Netflix just proved the world wrong, and the pirate flag flying above the Going Merry has never looked more glorious. When Netflix announced a live-action adaptation of One Piece, the reaction from fans was immediate and visceral. The beloved manga created by Eiichiro Oda has sold more than 500 million copies worldwide and inspired one of the longest-running anime series in history. The odds of translating that into a coherent, faithful live-action production seemed impossibly thin. Live-action anime adaptations had burned audiences before, repeatedly and badly, yet in August 2023, Netflix launched Season 1 of One Piece, and against every expectation, delivered something that fans and newcomers alike did not see coming, a genuine triumph. The season opens on Monkey D. Luffy, played with infectious, unrelenting optimism by Iñaki Godoy, a young pirate with a dream so enormous it should collapse under its own weight. Luffy wants to find the One Piece, the legendary treasure left behind by the Pirate King Gold Roger, and claim the title of King of the Pirates for himself. The only problem is that he has no ship, no crew, and his primary superpower, the rubber-like stretchiness granted to him by eating a mystical devil fruit, is as much a comedy act as it is a weapon. 8 episodes later, none of that matters, because Season 1 accomplishes exactly what it sets out to do. The first season is not a grand war or a world-ending conflict. It is something quieter and ultimately more meaningful. The story of 5 strangers becoming a family. Luffy's first recruit is Roronoa Zoro, played with smoldering intensity by Makenyu, a swordsman of fearsome reputation who is found imprisoned by the Marines at the story's outset. Zoro carries a single ambition, to become the greatest swordsman alive, and his partnership with Luffy is one of the season's central pleasures. Their dynamic, the reckless dreamer and the stoic blade, gives the show its spine. Nami, portrayed by Emily Rudd, arrives next, and her story gives Season 1 its emotional weight. On the surface, she is a skilled navigator and a calculating thief who seems to be working every angle for herself. Beneath that, she is carrying a debt and a grief that she has never been allowed to put down. Her village was taken hostage by Arlong, a ruthless fishman pirate who rules the East Blue through fear and extortion. Years before the story begins, Arlong murdered Nami's adoptive mother and gave Nami a single way out. Raise 100 million berries, and he would release her people. She has been working for him ever since, betraying every crew she joins, collecting every coin she can, waiting for a freedom that never comes. Usopp, played by Jacob Romero Gibson, enters the story as a young man with a big mouth and a bigger imagination. His village has grown tired of his false warnings. But when real danger arrives in the form of a scheming pirate crew targeting a wealthy girl named Kaya, Usopp's instinct to protect the people he loves turns out to be the most genuine thing about him. The Straw Hats help him face down that threat, and in return they gain both a new crewmate and the Going Merry, the cheerful little ship that becomes the crew's home, and, in its own way, a character in the story itself. The 5th and final member of Season 1's crew is Sanji, brought to life by Taz Skylar, with enough charisma and physical flair to make every kick look like a work of choreographed art. He is discovered at the Baratie, a floating restaurant in the East Blue that operates as a kind of neutral ground between pirates and civilians. When another brutal confrontation forces the crew's hand, Sanji steps forward, and the Straw Hats sail away one cook richer and considerably more dangerous. The season builds toward its climax at Arlong Park, where the full weight of Nami's backstory crashes into the present. When the crew learns the truth of her arrangement with Arlong, they do not judge her, they go to war for her. Luffy's fight against Arlong is not just a physical battle, it is the moment the show explicitly states what it is about. Freedom is not something given, it is something seized, with friends beside you, even when the odds are laughable and the enemy is stronger than you have any right to face. Outside the core crew, the season populates its world with villains who linger. Buggy the Clown, played with unhinged glee by Jeff Ward, is a devil fruit user who can separate and reassemble his own body at will. He is chaos given a red nose, and his arc in the season's earlier episodes sets the tone for the kind of colorful, high-energy antagonists the show handles so well. Alvida, another devil fruit user, surfaces early, and plants herself as a threat with unfinished business. And in the season's most quietly devastating scene, Zoro faces Dracul Mihawk, the world's greatest swordsman, and loses badly. He does not lose his life, but he loses his pride. And the vow he makes in that moment of defeat is one of the season's most powerful images. Running alongside the adventure is Vice Admiral Garp, a towering marine officer played with gruff warmth and barely restrained affection. Garp has been hunting Luffy across the whole of the East Blue, and the reason turns out to be both simpler and more complicated than it first appears. He is Luffy's grandfather, and he has never accepted that the boy he raised chose the sea and the pirate's life over the uniform of a marine. Their dynamic adds a layer of melancholy to the season's final stretch, where triumph and loss sit side by side in the same frame. The production matched the ambition of its source material in ways that surprised even veteran fans. The Bharati was built as a fully realized set. Buggy's circus ship was constructed with the kind of garish, theatrical excess the original manga demands. The fight choreography, particularly Zoro's sword work, found a way to feel genuinely dangerous without losing the almost balletic quality that defines the anime's combat. Luffy's elastic powers were handled with a combination of practical staging and visual effects that leaned into humor and physicality rather than chasing spectacle for its own sake. By the time the season closed, the Straw Hat Pirates had cleared the East Blue of its most dangerous threats, buried their losses, and turned the Going Merry toward the Grand Line, the most treacherous stretch of ocean in their world. The One Piece waits somewhere beyond the horizon. The crew that arrived at that threshold was not the same group of strangers who stumbled into each other over 8 episodes. They were something harder and warmer, and infinitely more willing to bleed for one another. One Piece Season 1 succeeded not because it was faithful to every panel of its source material, but because it understood what made those panels matter in the first place. It is a show about people who choose each other, about dreams that refuse to die even when the sea is rising and the enemy is laughing, about the particular kind of courage it takes to keep going when the odds are stacked so high you cannot see over them. Now Season 2 is here, and the Grand Line is waiting. What do you think the Straw Hats will face next? And which crew member are you most excited to see grow in the new season? Drop your predictions in the comments below, and if One Piece has made you feel even a fraction of what it made Luffy feel when he first looked out at the open ocean, hit like and subscribe so you never miss what comes next.